Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a supernatural horror film, Pay the Ghost. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In New York, 1679, three young kids hide in the cellar while a group of people is attacking their mother. Suddenly, the youngest child screams, so the attackers manage to find them. The scene then moves to a kid, Charlie, who is currently sleeping in the dark when a shadow passes through his window. He turns on the light, gets out of bed to look out the window, and sees something strange. He then shares that with his mom, but the mother thinks he is having a nightmare, so she asks him to get into bed with her instead, and wait for his father, Mike. In the library, Mike finishes his work and takes a cab home. He arrives and sees his son and wife sleeping in their bed, so he puts Charlie back on his bed. Suddenly, Charlie wakes up and asks him about their costumes for Halloween. When Mike is about to go, Charlie asks him to check out his window. But Mike says it is all clear. He goes to bed and apologizes to his wife and talks about preparing Charlie's props for Halloween. The next day, Mike gives a lecture and wishes his students a happy Halloween. Meanwhile, Charlie rides on his scooter around their house, wearing a pirate costume, and waiting for his father to come home to carve a pumpkin. He shows his mother his drawing of what he saw outside his window last night. The image disturbs her. At the university, Mike checks the pigeonhole shelves. He finds a letter and gets teary-eyed. He shows it to his friend. She congratulates him, then he hurries home. Meanwhile, Charlie is already out doing trick or treat with his mother. He asks to contact his father. Right then he notices an ominous bird on top of the building. Mike arrives home and disappointingly sees a note that his wife and son had left without him. Later, Charlie asks his mother if he can go to the carnival, but she refuses. Mike has been waiting outside their house and surprises Charlie with his cowboy costume. Just then, Charlie asks again if they can go to the carnival. Mike convinces his wife to take him there and tells her that he got tenure at the university. That good news makes her glad, and she permits them to go so they can celebrate later. Soon after, Mike and Charlie cheerfully walk to the carnival. They wander around while Charlie films the surroundings with his video camera. Suddenly, Charlie notices an eerie figure pointing at him, and it zooms in, which startles him. On their way to the ice cream truck, Charlie reviews the footage, and they almost get separated, so Mike takes the video camera from him. As they queue for ice cream, Charlie again sees an ominous bird hovering around. He stares at it and asks his father if they can pay the ghost. After Mike gets the ice cream, Charlie suddenly vanishes. Mike starts to search and shouts Charlie's name frustratingly. Later, he finds Charlie's hat and asks the policeman for help. The policeman supposes that Charlie may have just gone home, so Mike hurries home agitatedly, looking for Charlie, but he is not there, making the wife perturbed. Together, they return to the carnival to search for Charlie in the crowd. Then in the sky, a giant bird flies away. Later on, a detective interviews Mike and reassures him that such a case is typically resolved within 24 hours. So he tells him to stay put and go home. As Mike arrives home, he tries to speak with his wife, but she freaks out and is extremely disappointed with him. She walks out and Mike breaks down. Later that night, Mike sleeps on the sofa, but he wakes up when he hears some noise from upstairs. He gets up to check Charlie's room and looks out the window. Mike turns around and sees Charlie standing strangely in front of him. He gladly hugs him. Charlie asks if Mike saw something at the window. Mike looks out the window again and sees a shadowy figure across the street. Right then, a terrifying figure appears in a flash. He wakes up and it turns out to be a dream. It is almost a year later, 3 days before Halloween. Mike posts missing child flyers when suddenly he hears someone screaming, "Daddy!" He rings Kirsten, but she doesn't answer because she's busy with her work. During his lecture, he looks out the window and sees a father playing with his child, which distracts him. After his class, he meets with his friend. She advises him to stop beating himself up, but Mike does not think that his son is dead and is persistent in looking for him. Later, Mike goes to the detective's office. He tensely presents a list of suspects for the missing children. The detective responds that they will double-check it, and says that Mike is still responsible as the last person to see Charlie, which infuriates him. He then accuses the detective as lazy, and gets mad at him. The detective angrily proves how busy he is with many cases, and Mike walks out, frustrated. Mike proceeds with posting flyers, when suddenly something is thrown at him. As he looks around, a bus passes, and he seems to see Charlie in it. He persistently chases the bus and searches inside, but there is no sign of him anymore. As Mike gets off the bus, he notices a giant bird flying and landing in an abandoned building. He gets intrigued as he peeps in and sees the graffiti on the wall, "Pay the Ghost." He enters and sees the giant birds perching on top of the dumpster. He goes down the stairs and a barking dog welcomes him. There are fire pits and few people down there. He asks them about the meaning of the graffiti, but no one answers. A moment later they hear a yowling noise. The blind man orders them to cover their fire pits. Mike is confused. The blind man says she always comes out before Halloween, but does not say who she is. Then, Mike bafflingly asks the blind man about the meaning of "Pay the Ghost." The blind man takes him to another wall full of graffiti. Mike is still muddled, as the blind man supposes that it is just what it says. After that, a fleeting eerie figure appears over his shoulder, and the blind man advises him to leave. After that, Mike meets his wife, and talks about what he saw, which links with Charlie. He believes that Charlie may be trying to reach them out. However, the wife is unconvinced and leaves. He then chases her, but she is furious. She resents and blames him for taking Charlie to the carnival without protecting him. Later that night, Mike watches the video footage on the camera, but he puts it down just before Charlie spots the figure. However, the video continues to play. Mike is confused as he watches. It shows an old shack. He sees uncanny figures as the footage zooms in. One of them appears closer in a flash, looking straight at him. It shocks him, causing him to drop the camera. Meanwhile, as the wife is sleeping, she hears some noise. She unobtrusively goes down to check. She shockingly finds Charlie's scooter riding on its own around the house. It goes toward her and falls to the ground. The following day, the wife waits outside Mike's apartment and tells him that he may be right about Charlie reaching out to them. He then shows her the database of the children who have gone missing on Halloween, and he speculates that the abductions are linked with one another and something is behind it. They decide to see the parent of another missing child. They reach the apartment and knock on the door, but no one responds, so they go inside. There is a man who seems to be an addict. He asks them for some money and says he will pay the ghost, which Charlie uttered before disappearing. It shocks them, as the man tells them a similar story of what he experienced after his child's disappearance. After that, Mike tells the detective about his investigations. He seems to be dubious and brushes him off. But then the detective gets intrigued. He gathers the data about the missing children in the last 5 years. Subsequently, the detective studies the record and finds out something. He then goes to see the mother of another missing child. The mother tells her experience recently, as she seems to catch a glimpse of her daughter and hears her asking to save her from the ghost. Meanwhile, Mike is setting the table for dinner when suddenly the lights flicker, which later turns off. As he looks outside, he sees 3 figures burst into flames in a flash. Mike turns around and sees the room packed with ghostly children figures wearing old costumes. He drops his glass of wine to his shock, and suddenly they vanish. Mike explains it to his wife, and she suggests bringing a psychic to look into the house. But he thinks those are frauds. The following day, the psychic arrives. She notices the bad weather as she approaches the house. The psychic and the couple go into Charlie's bedroom. The psychic holds the teddy bear as she explains how the frequency or spirits detect her. She tells them she doesn't feel anything in the room. But as she leaves the room, she feels something and looks out of the window. She stares through the window in terror, saying that it's here and it is all the children. She opens the window, but a blast of wind throws her toward the wall. Her body floats as the wind strangles her, then drops her to the floor, killing her. Afterward, as the psychic's body is taken, the detective is upset and can't believe what happened. He then tells Mike not to leave the city, as strange things have been happening around him. That night, Mike stays on the couch, browsing Charlie's photos through his phone. While the wife is woken up by the flash of her son's tablet, displaying his drawing of an eerie figure, which now has Charlie beside it. Mike goes upstairs, following the noise he hears. He calls for his wife, and sees her sitting on her bed. As Mike comes closer to ask if she is okay, she suddenly turns around, possessed. She speaks using Charlie's voice, telling him that it is cold, and he's scared because she is coming. Mike comes closer, and sees his wife doing something strange on her arm, using a pair of scissors. He then forcefully gets the scissors, and begins giving her the first aid. The wife wonders as she has no memory of what happened. Then they examine the wound, and find a strange symbol etched on her arm. Meanwhile, a medical officer performs an autopsy on the psychic's body, when suddenly, her mouth opens, startling him. At the university, a friend examines the symbols on the wife's arm. She discovers that they are Celtic symbols. She also finds out the record of the Celts. According to it, there was a small group of Celts that existed in America, who emigrated from Ireland in the 17th century. Unfortunately, at the height of influenza, one of them was burned, as they accused the woman of having caused their suffering. Without any delay, they locate the city where the Celts would have stayed. The friend informs them that a small group gathers there every Halloween, so Mike and his wife plan to go there in the evening. The detective goes to see the result of the autopsy. The medic shows him the shocking situation of the psychic's internal organs. It looks as if she has been set on fire from the inside. That night, the couple arrive at the area where Celts gather. They witness the group of children doing some rituals while singing a strange song. Then, the woman greets them and explains that the song is called the Portal Song, which honors and welcomes the spirits. Mike asks her about his son, but the woman doesn't know anything. While the wife shows her the mark on her arm, the woman recognizes its symbols. The woman explains that the symbol depicts the crone, a mysterious spirit from another dimension, and some believe that it can take people to the other side. On every Halloween, the crone comes out and takes 3 children, which is why the children there are making some offerings, so the crone will not take them. The woman further tells them that during Halloween, the door to the portal is open, so those children who were taken recently by the crone can reach out to this world and be saved. Mike looks at the time and realizes that they only have 2 hours left before the portal closes at midnight. The woman continues that the crone mourns for her lost children. Mike remembers the yowling woman he heard in the abandoned building. Later in the cab, Mike and his wife speak with a friend on the phone. She informs them that she found some information about a woman named Annie, who had 3 kids. On Halloween of the year 1679, a group of angry individuals broke into their house, looking for Annie and her children to punish them for bringing the influenza and suffering. They tied them up on the pole and set the children on fire in front of Annie. She then vowed to return yearly and replace her slaughtered children with those from the living. That's how Annie becomes the evil spirit crone and haunts the living every Halloween. Back to reality, their cab is attacked by the giant birds on their way to the abandoned building. However, after the friend tells them the story, she goes out of the facility, feeling unsettled. She feels strange as she walks into the empty building, when suddenly, another giant bird pushes her out of the window. She falls off the building and dies. Meanwhile, medics come after the accident to examine Mike and his wife, but Mike escapes and hurries to go and find his son. He meets the blind man again, and asks how to get to the crying woman. Before he answers, he asks for Mike's watch in exchange, and takes him to the portal to the other side. He tells him that it will close at midnight, so he needs to be back by then, otherwise, he will be trapped there forever. Mike crosses the dark bridge, the portal, which is the way to the other side. He sees a woman standing. As he touches her, it shows him the site where Annie and her children suffered and cursed. Successfully, Mike reaches the old shack. He goes down to the cellar, and discovers numerous ghost children. He calls for his son, and searches among them and finds him finally. They hug each other and pick him up, when suddenly, the other 2 children who went there with Charlie ask to go with them. They hastily run toward the portal. As they cross the bridge, the ominous figure appears, trying to stop them by pushing Mike and targeting the children. Mike tries to fight, but it strangles him. The ghosts surround the ominous figure, allowing Mike to escape with the children. They successfully escape, right before the bridge collapses and the portal closes. At last, Mike brings his son home, and the wife is ecstatic to see them. However, Charlie does not have any idea about what happened. They hug as a family, and the giant black bird flies outside. In the end, it lands on the friend's corpse, and her eyes suddenly open, indicating that the haunting is far from over. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.